Mercenary Witch Hunter endgame build. With this one, you will be clearing maps with Galvanic Shards, while Herald of Thunder will do the hard work for you, being pretty fast and easy. And for Pinnacle bosses, don't worry, shock that Pinnacle boss and let Shockburst rounds melt him down. Don't forget to subscribe. Hello guys, my name is Will and welcome to one more Path of Exile 2 video. We are talking about the Mercenary Witch Hunter and I've been doing this lightning build which has been working amazing. It's the first time I've been playing Mercenary and I must say it's probably one of my favorite classes, alright? I've been having so much fun and it really works well to clear all the maps really fast. It's really easy to build. You can start with the budget build and eventually you can scale it a lot and do loads of damage. Alright, so this build is pretty easy. You just need to use Galvanic Shards to clear your maps and let Herald of Thunder do the hard work, and then you just need to shock that boss and use Shockburst rounds to melt that Pinnacle boss down. Alright, it's pretty easy. I'm gonna explain everything you need to know. Passive skills, I'll leave the link below with the Mobalytics guides, so if you guys want to have a double check on my passive tree and everything, you guys can just check that link instead of having to rewatch all of this video. Alright, so we will start with the skill gems and spirit gems at first, and then we'll talk about the passive tree and all the equipment that you may need and some tricks that will help you to make this build stronger. Alright, so starting with the skill gems, we have Galvanic Shards. Is our first skill, the one that you will use most of the time while clearing T15s, T16s, T17s. It works pretty well and you will do a lot of damage and you'll clear everything really fast. So with Galvanic Shards we want to use Fork, so these Galvanic Shards will send several projectiles, and with Fork these projectiles will fork through the enemies and will create more projectiles and will be loads of projectiles everywhere. Besides this, we have Ricochet as well, that will make these projectiles to shine an additional time from terrain, so will be even more projectiles going around the map and clearing everything on the way. Then we have Long Shot. This will increase our damage the further they are, the enemies, and since we are using all of these skills and will be projectiles everywhere, we'll benefit a lot from this damage. Then we have Primal Armament. This will increase 25% more weapon elemental damage, and then we have 100% more chance to shock. The more often we shock the enemies, more often we will trigger Herald of Thunder. That will be pretty useful. If you don't have 5 slots for the support gems on Galvanic Shards, you can leave this one for later, alright, and prioritize conduction because you really want to have that shock on the enemies. Then for the Shockburst rounds, and this before I go further on these skill gems, one quick tip. So if you can afford for some quality, these two are really worth it, because on this one, if you invest some quality, you get 2 more bolts loaded, and on the Shockburst round, if you invest more quality, you get more 7 bolts. Alright, more bolts you have, more damage you will do, and longer will take to have to reload your weapon. So on this one we have Concentrated Effect. If we take this one and it doesn't change your damage, because most of this damage will come from this pulse. Alright, so this pulse will convert 100% of your physical damage to lightning damage, and it's where Concentrated Effect will increase that damage. Then we have Fresh Clip. This one will increase your damage for each bolt reloaded, and you will be firing a lot of bolts with this skill. Martial Tempo to increase attack speed, Elemental Focus to increase elemental damage, and Lightning Effusion to increase our lightning damage. Alright, most of the damage will come, and this support gem will increase your damage a lot. I have 39 with this, 29 it increases 10k more damage with this. Alright, the damage doesn't look high, but that's because this skill is really fast. It's at 450% of base damage, so you will be doing a lot of damage with this skill, as you guys will see on all the gameplay I'll be showing to you. Then we have the Grim Fist. So Grim Fist, really basic. Every time we kill an enemy, you have a 50% chance to spawn Remnant and get some shield back. So as you guys can see, I have 250, 598. With Grim Fist you can double this, alright? You can have 5,000, basically, you can reach 5,000. Then we have Herald of Thunder. With Herald of Thunder, this one will help you to clear all the enemies If you feel like you are struggling a little bit, clearing everything on your way, one thing you can do is just use Lightning Diffusion here, alright? Instead of using on Shockburst rounds, while you're clearing your mobs, you can use it there and you'll increase your damage a little bit. When you need to kill a pinnacle boss, you can just replace it and put it back there and increase your damage on Shockburst rounds. So on Herald of Thunder, if you're already that strong and you have enough damage, then you can just leave it there. So on this one, we have 1% more critical chance against enemies on full life. So this Herald of Thunder is activated every time you kill a shocked enemy, and probably this will hit with some damage on full HP enemies. Then we have Magnified Effect, just to increase the area of effect of this Herald of Thunder. We have Innervate, this will give 35% more damage as lightning damage on killing a shocked enemy. And Lightning Mastery, just to increase 1 level plus on this skill gem, and this way will do more damage. Then we have Attrition, alright, and this one just for Pinnacle bosses. So when you want to do a Pinnacle boss, you just need to deactivate Grim Fist and activate Attrition, and that's basically it. While you clearing a map, just put it back, pretty easy. So Attrition, the longer you stay near a boss, the more damage you'll do. You'll deal 1% more hits damage to rare or unique enemies for every 2 seconds they've been in your presence, up to 53%, which is a lot. Then we have With Dancer, this one will just be a defensive skill. This one is really worth it to increase quality as well, because increase one more stage, each stage will give you 19% more evasion rating on level 19. On this one, we'll use Blind to blind the enemies if they manage to hit you, and Maim, which basically slows them down, alright? Then we have these 2 skills, and these 2 skills are used just to kill Pinnacle or another map boss, because this is a really easy way to shock an enemy. So since I don't need shock duration with this trick, I think it's much better, because as you guys can see, I don't have any shock duration on my passive tree or anything like that. And since we don't need that, because we are using the Lightning Wrap and this will create a shock on the ground for 10 seconds, I can use those passive nodes in anything else that is more useful. So basically with this one we are using Ball Lightning with increased shock duration and less projectile speed, so basically we'll slow them down. And then we are using Lightning Warp that will inflict lightning exposure for 8 seconds on shocking an enemy, which we're gonna do, and penetrate 30% lightning resistance. And basically when you use this Lightning Warp, you're gonna use it on a Ball Lightning, alright? And will create this shocked ground for 10 seconds. So the only downside about this, using this method, is because some bosses, they can move, and if they move from the shocked ground, they will not be shocked anymore. But you just need to recast and do the same trick once again, and it's really basic. So you cast this, and then cast this, and create this shocking ground. And if the boss stays here for 10 seconds, he will be shocked, and most of the pinnacle bosses will be dead on those 10 seconds. As you guys can see, it lasts for 10 seconds, and if you want, you just can recast this, and as you guys can see, it doesn't spend that much money, and you can do this how many times you want, and they will be shocked, alright, 100% if they are staying on this ground, alright? So this is the trick I'm using, and it's been working very well. I think it's much easier. You don't need, there are some people using with a bow and a quiver and apply the shock a different way. This way you don't need a quiver, you just need to use these 2 skills and you create a shocking ground that will 100% shock the boss or the pinnacle boss. And finally we are using emergency reloads with skill and power to increase to deal more 15% more damage, 30% increase cooldown recovery rate, and more skill effect duration, because while you have this active, we will get this buff over 6 seconds that will increase 30% more our damage, alright? So basically you just need to activate this, alright? Fire when you reach 0, you just press it again, and while the 6 seconds are active, we are doing increased damage, alright? And this is basically what you need to do, and as you guys can see, I don't need that much mana. Same thing with this one, I only spend mana when it reloads, but then we are using Melting Maelstrom and we get our mana back instantaneously, alright? So regarding the skill gems, this is all you need to know, pretty basic, some buffs, and you can use this trick just to increase a little bit your damage with attrition and back to Green Fist for more defense. For the passive tree, as you guys can see, we have a big passive tree. I'm 88 at the moment, and this is not a final passive tree I'm planning to. I'll show you with my Mobalytics guide. My build on Mobalytics will be easier to show you my final passive tree. So at the moment I have this. It's basically dexterity and intelligence. We have these ones to increase the attributes. This one that will increase the damage per 5 of your lowest attribute, which is strength. We have these ones. This one is pretty good, alright. So lightning damage with non-critical hits is lucky. So we are not using any critical hits. We have like 5% critical hit. Let's have a look. We have 8%, so not that much. So with non-critical hits, basically, the way this lucky works, it works with lightning damage. So if we go here and we check the lightning damage, we can do between 530 and 3914, alright? So this lucky hit, this lucky will roll twice and the better result will be used, alright? So every time you shot one of these bolts, you will do, this lucky will be activated and will roll a number, 2 numbers between these two. And thanks to this passive node, we'll choose always the highest number, and this way you will do more damage with this lucky node, alright? Of course, this works better if you have less critical hits, because this lucky thing only works on non-critical hits. If you deal a critical hit, this lucky passive node will not be activated. Then we have some more lightning damage, we have more, we have penetrate lightning resistance, and then we have a lot of more intelligence and more stuff here, more dexterity. We have this one that will gives us 50% more lightning damage with Herald of Thunder activated. We are using the control metamorphosis just to get these nodes here, and this way we can get this Falcon technique, more dexterity, more evasion rating, and more attack damage here. Then we are using this one that will increase our evasion rating per 1 maximum energy shield. I'll show you my equipment in 1 second. Then a lot of intelligence and dexterity. We have more lightning damage here. This one increases your damage by a lot. As you guys can see, it increases a lot with maximum lightning damage. We have more evasion rating here on equipped body armor. We have recharge energy shields with life flasks, and we are using chaos inoculation, so with this build you are immune to chaos damage. Then we have more intelligence, more maximum energy shields. We have more lightning exposure effect and damage penetrates lightning resistance. We have more lightning damage, and this one here is really important. So per 10 intelligence, your lightning damage will be increased by 2%. So having a lot of intelligence, I have 451, and this is really good. It will increase your damage and also your mana. And now I'm going to explain why your mana is important. Because besides having these shields, we have 2598. We also using these nodes that will, all the damage is taken from mana before life. So if any enemy, monster, pinnacle boss manage to take all of your shield, so imagine if you take a hit bigger than 2598, then the damage will go to your mana, alright? So to kill you, they need to take all of your shield and then take all of your mana. And the good thing about using Maelstrom, it's because this mana flask is instantaneously applied. So let's just use some mana here. Let's just try to... It's still really hard to get all of that mana out. But yeah, you guys can see I have that. So if I use my mana flask, it applies instantaneously and I get all my mana back. Alright, and also, besides getting my mana back, you guys are watching this effect. Alright, this is this effect here from the mana flasks. It deals 25% of current mana as chaos damage. So besides getting them all mana back, I also do a little bit more damage with chaos damage from these mana flasks. So this one is very useful. Alright, next thing I want to show is the final build. As I said, guys, this is not my final build. I'm gonna do some changes while I'm getting more points, and I'm gonna show you the final passive tree that I'm planning. Alright, so this is my build on Mobalytics, which I'll leave the link below, and this will be my final build. Alright, so as my final build, this is what I'm planning for. So I'll be getting these ones as well that will increase the chance to shock and magnitude of shock, so this will increase even more the damage. We are still getting this Mind Over Matter, but we also getting more energy shield. So this one will give you 40% more increased maximum energy shield, and this one will give you more 70% increased energy shield from equipped helmet. And as you guys can see, I'm using a full energy shield helmet, so this will increase our energy shield a lot. Alright, besides this, there's no more changes. We are also using this node here, alright, evasion rating and more movement speed. And besides that, all of the builds will stay the same. It's just those only new additions. Instead of going this way, I'll go on this way, get these nodes with energy shield and still get mind over matter, which is very useful with this build. It'll give you more defensive stats and try to have a good balance between dexterity and intelligence. Dexterity, since we are using Hand of the Wisdom, will give you attack speed, and intelligence will give you more lightning damage and also mana. Let's think about mana like energy shield. Basically, you will have energy shield plus your mana before the enemies manage to kill you. Alright, so a lot of defensive layers on this build. Besides that, we are using this on our ascendancies, so Cooling Strike and Decimate Strike. These two will increase our damage on low HP enemies, and then we are using these concentration nodes that will basically increase your damage while attacking enemies. That can be any monster, rare character or unique enemy, and that's basically it. Alright, passive tree, this is all you need to know. Let's talk about our equipment. Alright, so for the equipment, one of the best bows you can get is the Diad crossbow, so this one will give you an additional bolt that is very useful. You have the other crossbow that will increase the speed of the bolts, so there's several options you can take, but the best thing to use to look for on these crossbows is really the modifiers, alright? So you really want to have a lot of projectile, and guys, I can still improve a lot of this equipment I have at the moment, especially the crossbow. This one was 100 exalted, so it was a really cheap one. So the best you can get here will be 5 to level of all projectile skills. I have 3 level. Try to find one with elemental damage and physical damage as much as you can, because that physical damage will be converted. As you guys can see here, your galvanic shards will do enough damage to clear all the maps, so you really want to increase the damage against your the pinnacle bosses. And you guys can see 100% of physical damage is converted to lightning damage, so having elemental and a lot of physical will help a lot. Then adds physical damage or lightning damage will be good as well to increase your damage overall, and attack speed will be useful, and also attributes to increase your damage. Alright, then Hand of the Wisdom is a really important one as well, especially with this build that we are playing with attributes. So the more dexterity and intelligence you have, the more damage you will do. Then we are using a Stellar Amulet, and there's the other unique amulet that is very expensive. Of course, ideally that's the one we are looking for, but if you can't afford for one of those like me, you can use the Stellar Amulet with a lot of attributes, alright? So try to find one not with level to all spell skills, but to projectile skills to increase even more your damage, and to all attributes to increase your dexterity, strength, all of that will be good for this build, and maximum energy shield just to increase even more our energy shield, and this way the enemies will take longer to kill you. Then for the anointments, you really want to get the spaghettification, since we are using this build with attributes. Spaghettification will give you more 7% increased attributes, movement speed, and gives you also chaos damage. We really don't care about the chaos damage, but we want these 7% increased attributes that will increase our damage overall, okay, because of these gloves. Then we are using Warrior Invictus, Grand Regalia. This one will be really good as well, so for try to look for one like this. For each rune or soul core, this one has 4, the more expensive ones have 5, so each one will increase 5% your attributes, and on this one, each 10%, you will have more 10 spirits per socked run and soul core, alright? So this body armor is giving me 20% more increased attributes, and also 40% more spirit, and I have more than enough spirit on this character, alright? Even when I'm using attrition, I still have 20 more spirits that you can use on some more support gems. Then for the rings, look for one with lightning and physical damage. This is all you need. You really don't. Of course, if you get like cold damage or fire damage, it will scale your damage, but we only want physical or lightning damage, alright? Especially lightning damage, this is all we want, but if not, you can use physical damage, that will convert it to lightning damage as well. So, lightning damage, resistances, attributes, this is all we want on our rings. This one has cold damage, so it's not the best one at the moment, but it's one of the strongest rings I have at the moment, because I got this one from corruption that increases 20% more damage. So these gloves we already talked about. Then for your boots, movement speed, evasion and energy shield will be good as well. Talking about the body armor again, if you can afford for these Grand Regalias, you can get some of these very cheap. I think this was 2 Exile, 2 Divines. But you can start with one of these chests, alright? You can start with one with full evasion rating, alright? Or you can start with one with evasion plus energy shield. And get one with spirit if you need some spirit and resistances. You can use this body armor as well before you upgrade to a Grand Regalia, right? So your last step will be a Grand Regalia that will scale your damage a lot because of these attributes, Persocked Run or Soul Core. Then we have the boots we already talked about, so movement speed, resistances, and finally your last goal for your belt will be ingenuity, alright? So this ingenuity can increase the bonuses gained from equipped rings, alright? So this one is kinda expensive, but I crafted myself, so I must say this one was 2 divines and 1 Val Orb. This is how much I spent on this one, because it dropped, it was a drop, and then I invested 2 divines and 1 Val Orb, but get one, start with one with like 60% increased bonuses. You can buy one by like for like 3-4 divines, or if not, you can start with just a regular belt with some resistances, maybe some attributes, and that will be enough. Then the last upgrade, of course, you want a flask with as much life it can recover as possible, because it will apply on your shield. But the last step, what you really want to get, just to have a little bit of more damage, will be more unsurvivability as well, will be getting a melting maelstrom. These ones are really good. It will increase your mana regeneration, so it will apply instantaneously, like I showed to you. You use this, and let's just reload this several times. You guys can see I have half of my mana, or imagine if you are taking damage and you are taking from your mana flask, you just press it and recovers full, alright? Besides that, it also does this damage when you spend your mana, okay? This effect, that will be this damage, so every 3 seconds during effect deals 50% of mana spent in those seconds as chaos damage to enemies within 3 meters, alright? So it's chaos damage. We are not specializing on lightning damage, but of course will be some extra damage that is very welcome to any build. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this build. I've been having loads of fun playing with this build. The damage and clear speed, it's really good, and you just need to specialize on lightning, so it's not that complicated. Of course, if you want to get the best from this build, you need to spend a lot or farm a lot, because this crossbow was 100 exalted, so you can get one with a much better stats, with more physical damage, more elemental damage, more addition to physical or lightning damage, more projectile skills, more attack speed. There's a lot more you can find in a crossbow. The helmet, this one is already good, alright? It's hard to get much better than this, but of course you can still get better. The Grand Regalia, you can get one with 5 slots, which will be much better. You can get better rigs than these ones, alright? These ones are good, but you still can you can find much better than these 2 I'm using. Then for the Stellar Amulet, this Stellar Amulet is good, but you can get much better than this, with projectile to level to all projectiles, and or get the unique one that is very expensive. Ingenuity belt, this one is very good, but you can get one with 80%, but this one is already good. And of the wisdom, there's not much better you can get than this, but they are already quite cheap at the moment. You can get this end of the wisdom for 100 exalted or less than that. And then the shoes, also really important, but they are not very expensive. And the Melting Maelstrom, probably for around 3 to 5 divines you can get one, and will be a big help, especially this build, because you get like the instantaneously, the instant mana back, and will give you more survivability and that bit of extra damage. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this build. If you have any questions regarding this build, just comment below. I'll leave the link below as well for the Mobalytic guide, so you guys can have a look, and maybe will be more clear to you guys, and will be easier to check your my build as well, the passive tree, while you're leveling up or progressing on the end game. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, if you want to follow more content about Path of Exile 2, builds and everything related with this beautiful game, make sure to leave that like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate that. Thank you once again for watching this video, and see you next time.